Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 281 of a year of change and the beginning of week 41. And a week where I'm actually not sick anymore, which is really, really nice. I'm recording this a little bit later than I normally do, but mainly because I've been feeling better. I did my treadmill this morning. I did my weigh-in. I feel like I'm back on track, and I wanted to just sort of make sure I wasn't all hacky and coffee and wheezy and barfy all over the place. Well, not barfy, but you know what I mean, so that I can actually do this properly. So, let's start things off properly. Number one, there's a math issue I want to deal with, which has been driving me nuts all morning. This is week 41, so starting today, we have 12 weeks left. Not last week like I thought, because last week I was stupid and wasn't doing the math right in my head. We had 13 weeks, not 12. And I'm wondering how many of you it's been, that have just been going, we have 13 weeks, not 12. You idiot, you don't know how to do math. So, that extra week, we probably could have ended all of our food stuff on week 40 just to sort of wrap things up. But we had a week where not much happened. You probably stayed on much better than I did, but that 1 week sort of buffer I don't feel quite as bad now because we're starting now. So we have starting on week 1. This is when we're going to start making our changes and working towards, doing more exercise and stuff like that. So we have 12 weeks left as of right now and we'll be okay. So there we go. So that's a little bit better. Given everything that went on, I didn't do my treadmill. Didn't really eat properly. There were a couple days one day really, where I just didn't eat anything. And then the rest of the days I didn't really prepare a proper meal, things like that. So I did my weigh-in today, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Especially given the holidays and everything else, which I sort of avoided for the most part. But I lost 0.2 pounds, which is not a lot, but in my head it's better than a plateau. So, and it's way better than gaining 0.2 pounds as well. So I didn't really lose a lot, but still under my halfway point, so I'm pleased, and I'll just keep going the way things are supposed to be going throughout this week. Things should be good. So my weigh-in is done. I did my treadmill this morning finally, and I do feel a lot better. I got about halfway through it, around 40 to the 40-minute mark, and really just was sort of at the end of it. I was thinking, I should probably stop at this point. I thought, you know what? I've done 40 minutes. I know I can do 2 sets of 20 minutes, so I'm going to do that last 20 minutes. It really was tough, but I was able to finish it, so I'm back on track. And now today actually is the day where I'm doing out of every 5 minutes, 2.5 of that is jogging. So I'm at the 50% mark of that, which is a nice place to start as well. Because last week I was supposed to be doing 2 minutes of jogging for every 5 minutes, and I got partway through that. But rather than sort of stay on that 2-minute mark, I wanted to keep progressing, especially where I've had that week where not a lot happened. So I thought, that's a good place to start. There we go. I'm just going to keep on progressing that way. Things will be good. Anyway, what I want to do today, now we've sort of gone through all that and back on track. The math is working again. We're starting at week 1. Last week, aside from all the other stuff that went on, a lot of it was really just sort of preparation for this week, to sort of start things in and start working on the exercise portion of what we're doing. We've worked a lot on food. We've done a tremendous amount on food. And the reason why I didn't really want to have that same huge block of time of months and months and months on exercise is because it is so different for everybody. Aside from food allergies, there's really not a lot of danger when you're tweaking food back and forth. If you're eating more fruits and vegetables, you're eating less junk food, you're going to be healthier in the long run, generally speaking. With exercise, it's a little bit different because you can say, well, if you just start moving more, then you'll be fine. Well, there are a lot of people with limitations. There are people that are going to be able to go much farther than I can. There are going to be people that can't go as far as I can. So it's so different that I really wanted to sort of keep this compact because we aren't going to be focusing so much on like little nitpicky things like we were before. We are going to be looking at different things like metabolism and energy and lactic acid and all the other stuff. But just in general, what I want to do is sort of not exactly reset, but revisit what we did months ago. But neighbor's kid. Anyway, so when we started off, I can't even remember how long ago it was. It was a long, long time ago. And we just started very slowly doing exercise, and then a few weeks went by, and then we changed that again, and then a few more weeks went by, and then we sort of stopped for 6 months. Well, it was 20 weeks or so. So yeah, 3 or 4 months anyway, when we really just focused on food. So I want to sort of get back to that. But I've sort of been flip-flopping because I don't want to say, all right, well, we've all been doing 3 days a week, so we're going to pick up from there, and you've been improving on your own. But at the same point, I don't want to start from scratch with everything and say, okay, well, now we have to start in again. So I'm going to sort of go to the middle ground at this point and assume that things were going well at that point, and I'm sure that a lot of us have just sort of stopped. We've lost the amount of time that we wanted to put into it, or because we've been focusing on so much with the food aspect of it that that's sort of fallen by the wayside. So it's going to be a little bit easier to sort of pick up where we left off, but I don't want to just start right in again. At the same token, I don't want to go all the way back and then take weeks and weeks and weeks because we don't have time. We have 12 weeks now, so we don't have the full year that we originally were going to. So for those of you that are still out there, that are still exercising 2-3 days a week for half an hour, you are at the point where that's where we're going to get over the next little while, over the next few weeks. For the rest of us that had started back then and started exercising, and whether you're at the 2 or 3 days a week right now, or whether you're just sort of back at the beginning and haven't really kept up with it, then this is what we're going to do. We're going to start from scratch almost, but we're going to accelerate things when we improve so that week by week we're going to make those little changes. So the very first change that we ever did was way back whenever. I think it was probably within the first 10 weeks or so. And all that it was that you pick one day a week, doesn't matter what day it is, whatever day is going to work best for you. So if you're a weekend person, do it on the weekend. If you're a middle of the week person, do it in the middle of the week. Whatever day that you have that you can invest, and this is where the investment is going to come in. We talked about this a long time ago as well. You're never going to have to buy powders or energy drinks or any of the other bullshit or supplements or anything else that comes along with it. The only investment you're going to need to make with this is time. You're not going to need to buy exercise equipment. You're not going to need to, spend money at a gym. If you want to, you're free to do that, but you aren't going to need to. So take one day. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Pick one and stick to it. That's the most important thing. It can't be something that you're going to say, well, okay, I'll pick Monday. And then Monday comes, you're like, yeah, I didn't really get around to it. I'll wait till tomorrow. It's very important that we don't postpone this. Now, obviously, if something comes up, real life always interferes with something, then fine. Then it's got to be done the next day. But say that you picked Wednesday, then Wednesday is the day. At some point during the day, and you'll figure out the time as we go over the next few weeks. Whenever that you need to block off a section of time for 15 minutes. Well, I'd like to say 15 minutes, but these aren't going to stay 15 minutes. So what I don't want to just say half an hour instantly. Basically, all you're going to do, pick one day let's try this one more time because I can feel myself repeating myself. See, I'm healthy again, so now I'm just becoming a babbling idiot. Anyway, pick one day a week. During that day, when you're watching the video, the only thing is you can't stay sitting down or laying down. You've got to be in motion. And it doesn't have to be vigorous. It doesn't have to be anything major. If you can't move, you're like paralyzed from the neck down or something, this is going to be a little difficult for you, admittedly. But there is going to be something that you're going to be able to do. Actually, if you're watching this and you've been following through this and you're paralyzed from the neck down, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what you can do, but keep doing whatever you're doing. But for the rest of you out there that are mobile, and whether you're still stuck in bed or whether you're confined to a wheelchair, whatever it is, if you can move during this time frame, you pick a day, and while you're watching the video, you just stay in motion. And it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's wandering around your house while you're listening to it on the phone. Or if it's, lifting weights or going for a swim or running on the spot or jumping jacks or kegels or alligator wrestling or kicking a baby over a fence. I don't care what it is that you do. It's got to be, going back on what I just said, the alligator thing's probably too dangerous. Everything else is fine. But whatever it is that you decide to do that during the video. That's it. You don't need to, we'll eventually round up so that we have, a block of time. But make sure it's a time that you're going to be able to take that time and actually do something with it. And it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're doing something more than just sitting or laying down. Even standing in place, as odd as it sounds, even if you're just standing and sort of wandering around or shifting from foot to foot, it's still better than sitting down or laying down and watching this. So that's all that we're going to do for this week. And this is where we started a long, long time ago. We started doing the exact same thing, except that instead of having 3 to 4 weeks in between changes, these are going to go week to week. But it's not going to be anything major. I'm going to sort of keep at the same pace that I was going and that I'm still going, where we're improving week by week, but they're tiny, tiny changes. And I figure that, 15, 20 minutes is not a bad place to start, especially where you're not doing something really vigorous. You don't need to break a sweat. You don't need to be out of breath. You don't need to do anything. You just need to be able to be moving or doing something where you would say, you know what, I'm doing more than just sitting or laying down. So that's the only change that we're going to be doing this week. As things progress, though, then we're going to start rounding up, and then we're going to get back into the, vigorous, there we go, vigorous exercise and strenuous exercise. We're going to talk about those two different types. I think that's right, vigorous and strenuous? Yeah, I think those are the two. Anyway, we'll go into those into a little bit more detail, and we will get to a point, and it's going to be a little bit easier to get to that point now than it was before. The reason why we had 3 and 4 weeks in between the updates, changes, whatever the word is, the reason why we had so much time in between there is because we weren't eating how we are now. We weren't aware of a lot of the stuff that we are now. So we're healthier in general now, and so it's going to be a little bit easier, and where we're focusing on this, we're still going to make teeny tiny changes, but it's going to be easier to get to where we want to be quicker than it was back then. Because when I'm thinking back, like 9 months when I first started this, I was going to say 10, but no, we're still at roughly 9 months. When I first started doing this, if someone had said, yes, you're going to be not running, just you're going to be on your treadmill an hour. That's it. That's what your job is going to be from now on is, 1 hour, 3 times a week. In my head, I would think, I'll walk. I'm not going to jog. I'm not going to run. I don't want to get sweaty. It's going to be painful. My joints are going to hurt. I'm going to be out of breath. It's going to be horrible. I'm not going to be able to talk. I wouldn't have been able to do it at all. But by gradually building up, obviously it's working. I feel better. I'm doing more. And it's going to get the same way with whatever you've decided to do. And while this first week is sort of getting used to things again, getting back into it. Many of you are still exercising, which is fine. So for that, you don't need to do anything. Don't cut back to 20 minutes or half an hour or 2 hours, however long these videos take. Okay, we're around 15, so we're going to be all right. If I can keep this going and sort of wrap this up a little bit early, I want to try to get these down to roughly 15 minutes. There's no way I'm going to hit 10. I just know I'm not. But I got to try to get them below a 20 or 25 minute mark. I only had a couple, I think, that have gone over half an hour. Yeah. Anyway, this is why, because I start going, I wonder what happens with this, and I wonder what happens with that. Anyway, long story short, which makes no sense in what I'm trying to say. So, to summarize, there we go. You're going to pick one day a week. During that day, doesn't matter what day it is, you're just going to be active during the video. It doesn't matter if you're just listening to it in the background or whatever. However long the video is, then that's your day. That's what you're going to do. And then next week, we'll change that. We'll improve on that a little bit. But it will be easier to do a quick improvement week by week than it would have been 9 months ago. Because chances are you've lost weight, you're feeling better, you're eating better, so that's going to improve a lot of things as well. We're drinking more water, which we are tracking. I have to remember to do that today because I haven't put it in yet today. I didn't do it last week either. The whole point of the change for the week, and I didn't do it because I was mopey and sick and feeling sorry for myself. So there's a whole slew of different things that are making us feel better. And so you're going to be surprised how easy it is to sort of pick up where you left off. And if you are one of those people that have just sort of started at the midway point and you missed all the exercise stuff and you decided, no, I'm going to start here because this is a good point, it's still going to be easier than just going to a gym and having someone say, all right, we're going to start with a Stairmaster and then you're going to lift weights and then you're going to do this. We are going to be taking this very, very slowly. Because thinking back to where I started, even just making those tiny changes, I wanted something that's going to be slow enough that felt almost too slow, that I should be doing more, because we are going to stick with it. Same thing with the food and the changes that we made with that. it's fine to go, I kind of want to do more. I would much rather people do that instead of getting to a point too early where they're going, this is a little too much and I don't know if I like it. It'd be better to want to do more and not do it, because eventually we will get there. We will get to that point, and whatever you decide to do for your activity, then you're going to know better than anyone else where you want to improve on it. If it's, increasing the length of time that you're doing it, or the intensity, or, taking a different route if you're a walking person, something like that. But whatever it is, we will make those little changes, and that's why it's a little more difficult during these 12 weeks to try to tailor it the way that we did with food. Because again, aside from saying, well, you're allergic to this, so don't eat this, but everyone else is going to be fine. What's going to work for one person is only going to work probably for 2 or 3% of the population. So everyone's going to have to tweak it a little bit on their own. But as we progress, you're going to know more and more how you can change that, where it's going to be safe and where it's going to be something that you're going to stick with. So that's what we have to look forward to, but we are back on track this week. It's technically week 1 out of 12, so week 41 officially, but week 1 out of the last 12 weeks of what we're trying to do. So we've got the food under our belt. Now it's time to get back into the exercise. But for right now, I am going to leave this video here, so thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.